The Horned Frogs have only themselves and a resurgent Iowa State defense to blame. Kyle Kempt threw for 202 yards and 2 touchdowns, and 25th-ranked Iowa State upset 4th-ranked TCU 14-7 on Saturday, leaving the Big 12 without an undefeated team heading into November. Iowa State's win might have seriously hampered the league's ability to get a team into the playoff after missing out a year ago. The TCU coach Gary Patterson believes the Horned Frogs still control their own destiny. TCU, 7-1, 4-1 Big 12, Oklahoma State, 7-1, 4-1, and Iowa State, 6-2, 4-1, are tied atop the league, and the Cowboys play in Ames in 2 weeks. We've still got a chance to play for a Big 12 title. Does it hurt our chances for the playoff? Probably. We still played good enough defense to win, TCU coach Gary Patterson said. Marcel Spears intercepted a Kenny Hill pass with 1:16 left to seal it for the Cyclones. They forced a pair of turnovers in the red zone in the second half, in winning their 4th straight game, 2 of them over teams ranked in the top 5 on game day. We go into games thinking we're going to try to shut teams out, Iowa State linebacker Joel Lanning said of a defense that held the Horned Frogs scoreless. Kempt put Iowa State ahead 14-0 at the break with touchdown passes to Matt Eaton, 17 yards, and Hakeem Butler, 4 yards. TCU answered to open the second half on a 94-yard kickoff return by Kavonte Turpin. But Brian Peavy intercepted Hill in the end zone in the third quarter and brought it back 70 yards, and Willie Harvey caused Hill to fumble a ball recovered by Iowa State at its own 15-yard line with 7:11 to go. Hill had his worst game of the season, finishing 12 of 25 passing for 135 yards, and those 2 very costly interceptions. The Horned Frogs also committed 11 penalties for 104 yards. The reality of it is, it's hard to stay the course. But these kids are doing that, said Iowa State coach Matt Campbell. Number 3 Georgia 42, Florida 7, at Jacksonville, Florida. Sony Michel put Georgia up big early and put Florida away late, scoring on 2 long runs in what might have been the final game for Gators coach Jim McElwain. Michel finished with 137 yards rushing on just 6 carries and helped the Bulldogs remain in control in the Southeastern Conference's Eastern Division. Nick Chubb also scored for the Bulldogs, 8-0, 5-0 Sex, who ended a 3-game losing streak in the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, and started 8-0 for the first time since 2002. Florida, 3-4, 3-3. Started the day by responding to a tweet from a sports lawyer who said Florida and McElwain's agent, Jimmy Sexton, have engaged in buyout negotiations and are miles apart. Athletic director Scott Strickland released a statement several hours before the game saying the buyout report was inaccurate. No one representing the University of Florida or our athletic department has had any conversations with Coach McElwain or his representatives regarding a buyout of his contract, Strickland said. But Strickland stopped short of giving McElwain a vote of confidence. At number 7 Clemson 24, Georgia Tech 10, Kelly Bryant threw for 207 yards and 2 touchdowns, and number 7 Clemson bounced back from its first loss of the season. Bryant showed few negative effects from injuries that knocked him out early of the Tigers' past 2 games, a sprained left ankle in the third quarter of a win over Wake Forest on October 7, and a concussion in the second quarter of a loss at Syracuse on October 13. The Clemson junior connected on a 38-yard TD pass to Dean Cain less than 3 minutes into the game. Bryant zipped a 20-yard pass to tight end Milan Richard to put the Tigers, 7-1. 5-1 Atlantic Coast Conference, ahead 14-3 and cruised to their 3rd straight win over Georgia Tech. The Tigers' defense made sure that was more than enough to hold off the Yellow Jackets, 4-3, 3-2. Clemson had 11 tackles for loss and held Georgia Tech's league-leading triple-option run game to 198 yards, 175 fewer than their average. Taquin Marshall, the ACC's leading rusher with 117-yard average, managed just 23 yards that included his 22-yard TD run in the fourth quarter. Kervont Benson led Georgia Tech with 129 yards rushing. Number 8 Miami, Florida, 24, at North Carolina 19, Malik Rosier threw for a career-high 356 yards with 3 touchdowns to help Miami. Rosier had a 51-yard touchdown throw to Christopher Herndon IV late in the first half and a 78-yarder to Jeff Thomas to open the third quarter. His 5-yarder to Braxton Berrios gave the Hurricanes 7-0, 5-0 Atlantic Coast Conference a 24-13 fourth quarter lead. Still, Miami had to come up with a couple late plays after UNC made it a one-score game. First, the Hurricanes recovered a fumble by Jordan Brown after the Tar Heels had pushed near the Miami 35 with 2:11 left. Then Rosier ran for a chains-moving keeper near the 2-minute mark, allowing Miami to run out the clock. Nathan Elliott threw for 1 touchdown and 3 interceptions for the Tar Heels, 1-8, 0-6, after starter Chesnut was knocked from the game in the opening quarter.